Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the 2020 Adjuncts Educators Conference. We're delighted to have you here this morning, and although this is a little bit different, I think you're still going to find it very informative. We wish we were all together, but in this new time, we're going to do the best we can, and we're excited to be using some new technology today. We're using Zoom Webinar, and as such, it works a little bit different from your normal Zoom that you're used to. Guests are automatically muted. And if you have a question, you need to use the chat feature located there at the bottom of your screen. So if you have any questions, please use the chat feature. Also wanted to let you know that this session is being recorded this morning. And if you are staying for our academic town hall that's immediately following this session, you don't have to do anything. You can stay connected. It's the same link. So just stay with us. We'll take a brief break and reconvene. So now, without any further ado, I'd like to welcome our first presenter, our Chancellor, Dr. Higdon.
Good morning. It's great to see you all. This is an unusual medium, but I think it's a smart way to go. And I want to welcome you each to this conference today. I appreciate all the work that Julie and all the other teams have done. I do want to acknowledge that we are in unusual times. We are starting school in a pandemic. I want to let you know that everyone from janitorial to maintenance to faculty to staff to administration has been working really since March 13th to get ready for a week from Monday. We have a record number of students online for the first time in the history of the college. As of Friday, we had more students registered online than were registered for the Springfield campus. That's about a 45% increase in online students. As most of you know, we have incentivized students to go online. We did away with the online fee, and then we also gave students who took 12 hours, 3 additional hours free if they went online. This may be the first time, at least for the Springfield campus, that parking may not be an issue for the fall because most people are going to be online. As you know, we have a very, very strict masking requirement. One of the things you may hear from people if you're at a campus that's in a city without a masking ordinance is, Hollister doesn't have an ordinance, or Lebanon doesn't have an ordinance, or Waynesville, or Nixa. We have the authority as a local governing authority to make our own ordinance. We have done so. Additionally, in Springfield has some exceptions that we are not recognizing. No one will be allowed in the college at any time without a mask. If you have a medical condition, you will be directed to contact Disability Support Services. But our masking ordinance is much more stringent than that of the city of Springfield, and we are specifically exempted from the Springfield City Ordinance because higher education has the authority to go further, or we could have gone not as far. So as you deal with students, those of you who are going to be in-person classes, just remember to be kind but firm, and then look for backup. All the administrators and staff and security that usually are roaming the halls to show people around are going to be available to help you. And if we have students who want to make an issue out of masking, let us deal with it. You shouldn't have to. And you're going to hear more about that later. We appreciate you so very much. We could not conduct the business of Ozarks Technical Community College without our adjunct faculty. You bring expertise from the field. You bring great educational backgrounds. You bring commitment. And we all know you don't do it for the money, but you do it for the love of teaching. So it's my pleasure to welcome you today. I know you've got great programs ahead, and let's have a great fall 2020. Maybe a little bumpy, maybe some stops and starts, but I think we learned a lot in the spring of 2020, so I'm excited about the fall of 2020, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Higdon. I'd now like to welcome to the podium our Provost, Dr. Tracy McGrady.
Good morning, everyone. I do wish that we were seeing each other in person, but I am so thankful that we have advanced to the point that we have this technology that we can carry on and do the business of the college and use it to educate our students this fall and to meet like this and to share information. I am Tracy McGrady. I'm Provost and Vice Chancellor at OTC, but Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs at OTC. And I do want to welcome you to the fall 2020 semester. Some of you are brand new to us, and a special welcome to you. Some have been here longer than I have, and I'm starting my 19th year here at the college. I would just like to give you 3 things that I would like for you to keep in mind this semester. This is going to be a challenging semester. As Dr. Higdon indicated, it's going to be one where we are going to have some stops and some starts. And I think that the key is just to be flexible and to understand that, I know I'm a person, I like a lot of structure. I like to be able to know, I'm a planner, I like to know what's going to happen next. And that's just something that we're all going to have to get comfortable not having this semester. And so have that flexibility. I would encourage you to show grace to your students, with the exception of masks. As Dr. Higdon said, we definitely want to enforce our masking rule. And as he indicated, you will have the backup of the college in the event that you do find a challenge from a student. But show grace to our students, show grace to yourselves. I think a lot of you in the fall semester, or in the spring semester, if you taught, one of the things that I kept hearing was, that you just felt like you were not doing well enough, that you really weren't doing justice to your students. We all did the best we could, and I think that's what we're going to have to do this semester as well. We are much more prepared, much better prepared this semester than we were then. So I feel confident about that. But just keep your eye on service to the students. Our students need us. That is more true now than probably ever before in the economic times that we're living in and just in these challenging times. So keep your students the focus. The second thing I'd like for you to remember is, again, despite all of those challenges, the college really does have your back. We are here to support you. And if there's something that you need, reach out to each other, reach out to your department chair, your program director, reach out to your dean, reach out to me. I am always available. I think I heard from several of you in the spring semester. You've emailed me periodically. I try to answer those emails as fast as I can, and I'm always happy to hear from you. So don't feel like you're bothering me. I heard that a lot. I'm sorry to bother you, but this is my job. I'm here to support you, and we are all here to support you as well. Also, I'd like to, speaking of support and getting support from each other and from the college, if you are not a member of our OTC faculty Facebook page, I would really encourage you to join. You can just search on Facebook for OTC faculty. It's a great place to share information, to share success stories, to ask questions, to get support. Something's not working right for you in Canvas. It's an easy place to go and say, is anybody else having this issue? But it's also nice to be able to provide support to each other and to get ideas and to share ideas about teaching. The last thing I'd really like for you to remember, and I'd like to change the thinking on this, you are not just an adjunct. I heard from so many of you in the spring and over this summer, you would email me and you would say, I know I'm just an adjunct, but, and I would always try to correct that. And so I just want to kind of address that for a moment. I really want you to challenge yourself to start thinking differently about your role here at OTC. Instead of thinking of yourself as just an adjunct, think instead that you are just as talented, just as passionate, you have just as much impact on students, and you are just as much a part of the OTC family as all of our full-time faculty or any of our other employees. So I want you to really start to try to wrap your mind around that concept that we really do value what you do. And there are so much of the business of the college that we could not do without you, and our students benefit. And we are so grateful for all that you do. So with that, I'm going to end, and I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Megan Weaver, who is our Dean of Academic Services.
Hi, Hi. So first, I did want to introduce myself, which thank you, Dr. McGrady, for that. I am the Dean of Academic Services. I'm Megan Weaver. I've worked at OTC for 3 years, and so you may have known me from the Richwood Valley campus. And I also wanted to tell you about a few things that are going on in academic services. As Dr. McGrady said, we need to make sure we're providing any supports and services to our students that will be helpful. And so a few things that we have is we will be doing Academic Early Alert for all classes this fall. We started that in March with all of the classes. And there's an OTC Cares website that has an Academic Early Alert button with some example scenarios for ways that you might be able to help students and get them the resources that they need. Some of the other academic services this fall will be appointment-based. We will have walk-in services available, but we're going to really try to push appointment-based services, particularly with testing. So if you're teaching an online class and you have students who need to take a proctored exam, please encourage them to check out the testing websites that we have for the different campuses and centers to make sure that they make an appointment for those tests. Also with testing, we made a change to ProctorU Auto, and that will now be free for students for this fall. So if you are using ProctorU Auto, please let your students know how to access that and that there will not be a charge for them. And then also from your end as the faculty member, you'll need to go in and review those videos. So if you have any questions about that, please feel free to contact me. And I think that is probably it. But if you have any questions about anything related to tutoring, testing, disability support services, the library, please feel free to email me. My email is weaverm@otc.edu.
Thank you, Megan, and we're glad to have you here. Next up, I'd like to introduce virtually Matthew Simpson. Matthew?
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm taking on the role of the college of our accreditation liaison officer with the Higher Learning Commission. And we as a college are going through our 10-year site visit cycle this upcoming academic year. So March 29th and 30th in 2021, we are anticipating to have a team on site reviewing the college, continuing the theme of uncertainty in this year of a global pandemic. The site visits so far this year have been conducted virtually. We still don't know yet what the site visits will look like in the spring. We're planning for in-person, but they very well could be a hybrid or virtual as they have been so far. But we are ready for whatever 2021 brings us. So the HLC is obviously accreditation is very important for the college. It's what allows us to get Title IV federal financial aid eligibility. It's what ensures that our credits transfer to any other college or university across the country. And so a site visit can be scary. You know, we can think that, well, we've got to do a lot of things differently, or we've got to change to make sure that we pass the site visit. But in reality, and especially in our case, what the site visit is about making sure that we are doing what we should do. And so we as a college, if you look at the 5 criterion that we're evaluated on, that is mission, making sure that our mission is clear and guides the operations of our college. Integrity, ethical, and responsible conduct, that we are acting with integrity and ethics towards our service area. Teaching and learning, both in terms of quality, resources, and support, making sure that we have quality instruction, which is criteria 3, and then in terms of evaluation improvement, criteria 4, which is using the data that we see from our students and using what we learn from our students to ensure that their instructional experiences are the best they can be. And then finally, criteria 5, which is institutional effectiveness, looks at are we using our resources effectively? Do we have enough resources? And are we planning for the future? And you know, those are things that we don't have to all of a sudden start doing this year. Those are all things that you all do in your classroom, starting with the construction of a syllabus, even extending to events like today, reflecting professional development. And so this year will be about just demonstrating to the HLC how well we do those things as part of our normal business. So as we're heading into the visit, if you have any questions or if you have any thoughts or comments, please reach out at any time. My email is simpsonm@otc.edu, and would be happy to hear from you as we prepare for this process. And thank you all for your role in it.
Thank you, Matthew. Next up, we'll have joining us virtually Ocki Haas, and we're going to start that with a video.
Change in at least 4 areas: globalization, technology, the environment, and demographic change. We can only process so much change in a short period of time without experiencing anxiety, which is a normal biological reaction. But how we respond to this anxiety is social. Our response is greatly shaped by the stories presented by leadership and through culture. These stories speak to our deepest values and our core beliefs about who we are, many of which operate at the subconscious level. We can respond to these changes either as a threat or as an opportunity. The first response is breaking. The second is bridging. Breaking can create a deep fear of other groups, making it easier to accept false stories of us versus them. Breaking perpetuates isolation, hardens racism, and builds oppressive systems, while driving our politics and institutions toward anti-democratic and inhumane practices. The other response is bridging, which calls on us to imagine a larger, more inclusive we. When we bridge, we see demographic change and our diverse identities as positive and enhancing who we are. Bridging calls on us to engage in healthy dialogue and requires us to listen deeply. Bridging does not mean abandoning your identity. Bridging means acknowledging our shared humanity, rejecting that there is a them, and moving toward a future where there is instead a new us. But when we bridge, we not only open up to others, we also open up to changes within ourselves, where we can participate in creating a society built on belonging.
Hi, I'm Chief Human Resource Officer for OTC, and I think we can all agree that 2020 has been a year of rapid changes and some significant challenges to our way of life, social and economic climates in our communities and in our country as a whole. This video clip that you just saw is a vision of where we want to be and how we can get there. Some of OTC's core values are inclusion, collaboration, accessibility, respect, learning, personal and professional growth. All these values aspire us to have every person in our organization to feel connected, belong, and matter. However, sometimes our unconscious biases, which we all have, keep us from fully living out those values we aspire to. There is a group of faculty and staff who is working with me on finding ways to dismantle those biases that keep us from understanding, accepting, and embracing those who are different than us. What you saw today is just a glimpse of what we're striving for. And there will be more to come in terms of opportunities for learning and for growth as a college community. So I appreciate the opportunity to share with you for a few minutes. And I special welcome to those of you who are new to OTC and those of you who are returning. And I hope that you will have wonderful and safe semester this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Ocki, and thank you for the presentation. Next, I'd like to welcome virtually Andrew Goodall.
Thank you, Julie. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be speaking with you all this morning, and I'm the new College Director of Student Success at OTC, and I just wanted to share a little bit of an update with you on what student success has been up to and where we are in terms of being ready for the new fall semester. Many of you have probably heard a lot about what was first known as the advising redesign and then the student success redesign. And now we are dropping the redesign and just referring to it as student success. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you and go over a few things that can give you a visual here. So student success, our mission is to deliver holistic, personalized support that is designed to ensure students achieve their academic goals at OTC. Now, I've been able to work with many of you through OTC Cares in the past, and I'm looking very much forward to working with you in this new capacity. And one of the things that I'd like to echo from Dr. McGrady's presentation is that you are one of the most integral parts of OTC's Academic Affairs Division, and your consistent, constant interaction with students is one of the largest driving factors in their success. Student success is excited to be able to partner with your efforts in the classroom to deliver this holistic, personalized support to help students achieve their academic goals outside and inside of the classroom. A few points about the emphasis of student success at OTC is that our teams will be providing proactive student support, conducting holistic academic advising, facilitating students' financial stability, ensuring their career preparedness and readiness, as well as helping them develop high levels of student motivation, confidence, and resilience. Our student success teams will be in place for the fall semester at every OTC center and campus. At the Springfield campus, we are going to be starting with 8 programs in technical education. Our long-term goals for the work that we will do as we work with students academically, financially, and for long-term career planning is that we will increase our fall-to-fall retention rate, increase our overall degree certificate transfer completion rate, increasing graduation from a 4-year institution for our transfer students, as well as increasing employment for our students 6 months after they graduate, as well as employment in fields that are directly related to their academic program. Student success is exciting because it is giving us an opportunity to build on much of what is already done so well at OTC in a way that provides a one-stop shop for students to meet with their navigator who will provide that centralized student support for academic, financial, and career planning, as well as other team members such as our student success specialists, community resource specialists, mental health counselors, and other support staff who will build relationships with students that allows us to anticipate rather than react to the needs of our students. And our jobs will not be able to be as effective as we want them to be unless we are collaborating directly with you. And so my ask of you today is that ideas, questions, feedback, and all of the above, I want to know what you are seeing, what you are hearing, what you are learning from your students so that we can communicate and collaborate on how we can all work better together to serve our students and help them achieve their academic goals. Please feel free to contact me. My email's here, as well as my extension anytime, virtually or in person, as long as we're masked. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew, for that update. It's definitely an exciting initiative here at the college. Next up, I'd like to welcome virtually Melissa Wittmer with a Faculty Senate update.
Hey everybody, I'm thankful for this time to just share a few things with you about Faculty Senate. I'm going to share a short presentation, mostly so I can kind of show you who the current senators are. So Faculty Senate exists to advocate for viewpoints on issues where faculty are stakeholders. We are a group that meets every month, and in our sessions, we promote causes that impact the classroom and student success, and we work with administrators at the college to answer questions that were posed to the Senate. And all of those meetings and information about what we've discussed is hosted on our website. So I'd encourage you to go over to the Faculty Senate site at the OTC webpage and just search for that. The current members, these are pictures of who's currently serving. Many of these positions will be rolling over. We serve 2 terms as senators unless you're elected into a position where you could serve for a 3rd. And you'll see that these members represent different divisions from the college, so we try to get voices from all over OTC. Normally, we have elections in the spring, but due to COVID, things came to a halt. So we're going to move that to fall of 2020. So those current senators, including myself, you'll see lots of changes with who's representing Faculty Senate, but we'll have more information coming out in August and September for that. Once things get rolling again, meetings are held the 3rd Thursday of each month in the OTC boardroom. Information about the meetings is always sent out in an email to adjuncts and faculty before the meeting so that you can see what the main topics of discussion will be. We encourage you to contact a senator if you do have any concerns so that we can address that. Meetings are also held virtually, so there's a Zoom link that will be sent out if you'd like to attend via Zoom. This is the most exciting part of the presentation. For the 2nd year, Faculty Senate is going to be able to recognize adjuncts for working at OTC. And the following adjuncts listed here are going to be recognized this year for their 10 years of working at Ozarks Technical Community College. So I'd like to thank these individuals for their motivation and encouragement that they've given to their students and also to faculty. Thank you to the Chancellor's Fund for a kind donation. We're going to be delivering to your mailboxes a gift basket and a certificate, so check that after August 19th. So these are the adjuncts that are currently at 10 years of serving at OTC. Alice Beasley, Kelly Davis, Webb Freeman, George Lindsay, Gregory Midall, Glenn Renner, and Kevin Short. So thank you again, and also thank you OTC for giving me time to give an update today at this conference.
Thank you, Melissa, and what a great recognition of our 10-year adjuncts. Up next, I'd like to welcome to the podium Gavin O'Connor.
Good morning, everybody. Just want to thank everybody for being here this morning, and I think the theme so far has been change, and this was something that has been on the books for a little bit to try and get something worked out. But one other change that we're going to have this year, and not related to COVID necessarily, but one that I think is going to be beneficial to us in that aspect, is we are changing our grading, our attendance taking module that is now going to be found in Canvas. So I have a slideshow that we'll bring up here. And the main reason for this is that those of you that have used Pinnacle in the past, just want to make you aware that is not available. We had been working for quite some time. The company that owned that was not supporting it and everything. So we were supporting that through our IT. And so we were kind of past the point of being able to do that. So we found, and this has been going on, like I said, for a year or so, we found this product that now will incorporate into Canvas seamlessly, from what we can tell. So couple of things that I want to talk to you about in that, and I'm not going to hit all the high point or all the points because just the high points here, because there is a lot to it, but everybody should have received an email from me. I believe it was on Tuesday this past week, and it gave a guide in there as far as how to work through and get things set up and to actually take attendance. We'll be doing some training sessions if needed. OTC Online is going to help us with that. And, but the information that was sent out on Tuesday should provide the opportunity for you to have most of the information. We did do a soft rollout this summer, since we just had very few classes that were hybrid classes, and we got really good feedback on that. So everybody that has used it so far has felt like it was fairly easy to get started in and to get going. So as we move forward, if you have any questions, please let me or the online department know. So when we're talking about this, we're really looking at seated classes. Again, online classes, if you're teaching those, which obviously many of you are now, those are still going to be looked at as far as what attendance is in there, is participation in the class. So this product that we're going to be talking about that's in Canvas really isn't necessarily related to the online classes. It's strictly the seated courses and how we're taking attendance there. So Dr. McGrady has kind of expressed that in I believe it was last week's provost notes that she's been sending out, that daily attendance is really mandatory. We do need, I know in the past there have been a lot of people that would, take attendance on paper or whatever, and then maybe on Friday when they had a chance would actually put it into the system. We really need to start doing that on a daily basis as far as getting it into the system and having that available. We have some opportunities with it to help with contact tracing and things like that. And so it's very important, again, to do this on a daily basis for those seated classes. So attendance in class each day within this attendance module. So that's where we're going to be able to pull that information from. Also want to reemphasize the criterion for administrative withdrawal, which, even though we are going to try and work with students as much as we can, we do need to have them at least participating and being in attendance for 14 all the time. And if they're not in there for 14 consecutive calendar days, then we would need to go ahead and work through the administrative withdrawal process. And so I have provided we do have a website out there that has all this information available. And so if you have any questions, that website may help. But again, if you have any questions at all, please let me know. Email me, call me, whatever you need, I'll be there for you. So next slide. So just to kind of give you an idea to get started, if you're in Canvas and you want to find the attendance module, the left-hand side there, as we are used to seeing, is going to have all the different things you can go into. And down there somewhere, everybody's is a little different, but somewhere in that list, there will be attendance. And that's what will take you into this module. And so once you get in there, again, read through those guides, see everything that's going on, and then just want to kind of run through this list for you. These are the statuses that you can actually designate the presence and absence of the student. We have included in this one 2 different types of present. And again, keep in mind, this is just for seated classes, so think of it from that aspect. They are either going to be present on-site or present off-site. Now, I'm going to talk here in a minute. We do have the ability to take attendance through Zoom. So if you have students that are unavailable to be able to be on campus and you're going to work with them, and I know that here at Springfield campus especially, many of the gen ed courses are going to be in locations where they can Zoom during those lectures. That is what being present offsite is for. This is going to help to allow people to know where these students were they here, were they participating offsite, but they were present. And then absent, obviously, they're not here, but then there are some other reasons why they may be absent. A college excused absence, we don't have very many of those, but occasionally if a student is working through things like Title IX issues, those type of things, then you may be contacted by someone in the college and to let you know that they aren't going to be there for a certain period of time or something like that. And so that's where you would use the absent college excused. Absent because of college activity, again, we don't have a lot of these, but when we're looking especially at students, kind of the main one we were thinking here were high school students who are in our career center who may be taking, or middle college also, who may be taking some actual college classes, and they have to be out for some reason related to Skills USA or that type of thing, and that would be a college activity. Then I think the others are pretty well self-explanatory. If they're absent due to military leave, also if we have snow and we're still having school, but say ascending school that has students that are in your class, high school students again, that they aren't able to shift them in on the buses, that's kind of what that absence is for there. And then we have whether you cancel class, whether the college cancel classes, and then again, tardy or left early. And withdrawn, you shouldn't have to actually indicate, it should already be in there for you. So that's what those are for. And then another thing that has been kind of exciting about this was not originally in the product at all, but due to the fact that I had several people asking about it, I was able to work with the company and they were pretty excited because they'd had a few other schools that had asked about it. But we do have the ability to have a seating chart now. And it's gonna look a little bit different than what we've seen in the past, but it's basically setting the classroom up on a grid, and then you just pull the students in. You can take attendance off of it like we have in the past with Pinnacle. And so that is there for your reference as well. And then the other kind of exciting thing that has happened, this has occurred pretty much about the time we were deciding this was the product we wanted to go with. But with COVID occurring and everything, the company itself saw the need for this. And so they have established the ability to take attendance for those students that are attending through Zoom. And so again, not going to get into the details of how that's done, but it's in the guide. But it is an opportunity there to be able to do that. We do have some hybrid courses that the hybrid portion of the attendance at a certain time is through Zoom. And so those kind of things are what allow you to do this. The only portion of that we need to kind of talk about is to be able to utilize this Zoom attendance module in here. You do have to have a professional license. And some of you may already have that. You've worked with IT to get that for you. Others may not. And you may not even know what a professional license is. If you are using Zoom and it cuts you off at 40 minutes, that's not a professional license. So if you find that that's what you're using, then what you can do is talk to IT, get a hold of them. We do have a good number of professional licenses, but they are somewhat limited. So if you're not going to be using it, it would benefit everybody to probably not ask for that. But we should have enough for anybody that does need to utilize it. And then the last thing I want to talk about, this kind of does address some of you that are taking or are teaching online classes as well. But the Gradebook actually is a very beneficial aspect of Canvas for everybody. There's times that people need to get in, we need to see kind of what has happened, that kind of thing. But the biggest part is attendance, at least for me anyhow, is attendance and being able to check to see what that is. And so the Gradebook is going to be the first place we go to if we are looking at especially online students to determine what their attendance might have been or is. And so it's very important to keep that updated. The other thing, and you don't have to do this, but something that I have found very beneficial is to kind of up in the left-hand side, I think just there's like this end of actions is over there on the left-hand side at the top with a pull down. There's one next to it, I think is view, and I'm just doing that from memory, so it may be wrong. But you can go in there and you can arrange assignments by due dates. And if you have due dates in there, then it's kind of assumed that they're going to do this along the lines of what the class is doing. And so that actually helps, I think, everybody, you included, as you're trying to determine who's missing what and how long they've been out. If you see a big gap in there, then you might look and see what their last actual date of attendance was. But I like to arrange it by due dates just because then it does kind of set it up so it's easier to read. Okay. So that is kind of the quick overview of our new attendance module. Basically from here on, we'll just call it Canvas attendance. If you are a brand new adjunct within the last few days that you've been put in the system, if you did not receive my email, if you want to get a hold of me, please let me know and I will send that to you and get that information out to you. Again, it's out there on that web page as well. Online will be there to help too. So any questions that you ever have about attendance, if you have scenarios, I work through those pretty much on a daily basis with folks. You know, if a student has a situation, what should I do? Just get a hold of me. I'm there pretty much all the time. So email me, call me, and we can work through any of those. So again, appreciate all your work on that. I'm really hopeful. Everything I've seen, this product has been great so far. So I'm really hopeful that this change may be the easiest one you have all semester. So thank you.
Thank you, Gavin. We hope that as well. We appreciate the transition and the new products that'll help us track grades and attendance more efficiently. All right, now I'd like to give you an update from the Center for Academic Innovation. As Gavin talked about the changes with Gradebook, that's also going to be available in some PD sessions coming up soon on our website. The college actually has a new employee development calendar website, and there we share that with HR. So again, the calendar is condensed, and this will show all of the professional developments available to OTC employees. You can access that from the CHI webpage by clicking on Development Calendar. And please remember that we add things periodically throughout the semester. So if you check it today, it doesn't mean that's all we're going to have come September, October, November. So things will be added. Right now, switching to Canvas Gradebook, we have sessions of those up, peer-to-peer Zoom training. That was particularly exciting because it's going to be led by other faculty, and they're going to share their experiences with using Zoom last spring and this summer and how they plan to use it moving forward. So we'll be adding those things. There's several sessions later this afternoon. If you check your agenda, we do have a Canvas Gradebook and attendance session today at 12 o'clock. That's going to be virtual and hosted by Philip Arnold. We'll also have this drop-in come and go peer-to-peer Zoom training. That's from 12 to 2. It's drop-in as well. And we'll have several OTC faculty there to talk about things with you. And then also from 1 to 2, we'll have a Preparing to Pivot Effectively Q&A that Jackie Harris will be hosting. If you have any more questions about that, or if you participate in our P2P training course, our Preparing to Pivot course, this is just an opportunity to ask any questions regarding that. And also from 11 to 1, our Faculty Support Virtual Lab will be hosted through Zoom, and Amy Schneider, one of our instructional designers, will be there. So if you have any questions about Canvas or anything about pivoting, she's available as well. So please check your agenda for that. Speaking of the P2P training, we had over 352 folks enrolled in that course, and we couldn't be happier. We graciously received some CARES funding to allow the faculty that completed by yesterday to receive a $200 stipend. But if you weren't able to do that, or if this is your first time hearing of it, it's not too late to access these resources. because we're going to continue to make those available to you. So if you have any questions about that, please contact Kai using the FacDev email, give us a call. We're available for that as well. Also, another thing that we're really ramping up, in March, we learned a lot about Zoom really fast, working remotely, as did you. So we're going to be using Zoom a lot for support through OTC Online and the Center this fall and moving forward. I've always been passionate about serving our folks at our outlying locations, and I will continue to do that. So we're even more accessible through Zoom, and I think many of you have had a crash course in that by now and have gotten comfortable with it. If you haven't and are interested in more with Zoom, contact us and we can test it out and help you get better situated with that. But that also is a service we'll be providing. We have Zoom support available now during our regular business hours. So we've always got someone live standing by. All you have to do is click a link. You can find that in our information we have posted in a lot of different places. But we'll continue to do that, and we'll even add more of that during our Canvas support station. We'll have some extended hours starting next Saturday. So for those 2 weeks, we'll have additional evening hours and weekend hours with that live Zoom support available to you to help get classes ready or answer any questions you may encounter during that first week. Also, those Kai consultations, the one-on-one Kai, well, Corey's got Zoom resources pulled up. Thank you, Corey. That is another resource we have built that talks about just how to use Zoom in the classroom. And the IT, if you do have a Zoom classroom that you'll be using on your campus or location, those will be supported by IT or someone there at your location. They'll be doing all the tech support, all the technical training on how to set up and use those classrooms. But that equipment is coming to a lot of classrooms, and we're excited to have that, and IT is managing that piece. What the center's doing is managing the Zoom training component of that and how you might effectively use Zoom to teach components of your course or create content for your course. So those resources are available on the Kai page. We also link to IT's resources as well. And as part of that, there you'll see a link even to the one-on-one Kai consultation form. And now Corey and I will get back in sync. That is something we're doing to provide, we were going to do it anyway, but this just made it more timely, especially for adjuncts and providing outreach and support to you. So whenever you have time, whenever it's convenient, if you have questions, by filling out this form, we can schedule a 30-minute to a 1-hour consultation with you at your convenience. This includes after hours. If you can't meet till 7 o'clock on Tuesday night, let us know and we will work with your schedule. And one of our staff, depending on what you tell us you're interested in, one of our staff will reach out to you and confirm that appointment, make sure we've got a time that works for you to just meet you where you are. So we're really excited to do that, and we'll do more of that. And for those of you that were in the P2P training, this is different than the group Zoom consultations you did within the course. This will be an ongoing service for all of our faculty. And then lastly, I wanted to tell you a little bit about something that's coming this fall that we're super excited about. Again, thanks to CARES funding, we are able to construct an instructional media lab that will be located on the Springfield campus, but we'll be taking reservations for folks to come in and record video in that lab. We've got the equipment on order, and probably the crown jewel of that room will be a 66-inch light board with 1-button studio recording. So we're excited to have that. You'll hear more about that in September. Check your Kai newsletter, check our website. When we get that in place, we'll definitely let you know. But we're excited. We've got acoustic panels up on the walls right now, and we're waiting on that equipment to come in so we can get it set up and tested for you. So that's some of the things that are happening at the center. I also wanted to let you know we have a couple of new staff members in the center. We have Jennifer Marshall Hoggett. She is answering the 8200 number and is serving at our front desk station and giving Canvas support and just helping faculty right and left. We acquired her from IT, so we're delighted to have her. She's got a very strong background and hit the ground running, so we're happy to have Jennifer on board. And freshly new this week is another Jennifer. Jennifer Wallen has joined us as an instructional design specialist, development specialist, and she'll be helping out in the office as well in lab with some of that tier 2 support, assisting Jackie and Amy and Philip. So we've got some new faces, and I look forward for you to seeing them, and hopefully face-to-face when we can, but virtually in the meantime. So we're running a little bit ahead of schedule, but I want to thank you for attending this session. I hope you stick around and join us for the academic town hall. We'll take a short break now, but we will start that town hall at 10:10. So we've got a little bit of an extended break now, but we hope you'll stick around. If you have any more questions for the town hall, you'll be able to chat those in, or since we have a few extra minutes, if you want to email those to facdev@otc.edu. Corey is standing by, and we can get those questions answered for you. So thank you so much, and have a wonderful semester. Good morning. Thank you everyone for joining us. For those of you that stuck around, we appreciate it. And for anyone new joining us, I want to do a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. We'll be using Zoom webinar this morning, and it works a little bit differently from your normal Zoom, as you will be automatically muted. If you have questions during the town hall, please use your chat feature located there at the bottom of your screen, and we'll be answering those questions live. This session is also being recorded. And if we don't get to your question during the chat, which we hope to get to all questions, but if not, we will reply to those in an email later next week with the link to the Zooms. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Dr. McGrady to the podium.
All right, thank you all for sticking around and joining us this morning. I would like to, it's not going to be just me answering questions. We actually have a panelist, or a group of panelists, experts, to help answer questions that might be more specific to your particular location, or a particular question about another area of the college. So let me tell you who we're going to have here. So we, of course, you have just heard from Dr. Coltharp, who is our Dean of Online and Faculty Development. Dr. Gavin O'Connor, who you heard from previously, to answer questions about A+ attendance or perhaps administrative withdrawal. Dr. Megan Weaver, who is our Dean of Academic Services, and you met her earlier as well. We also have Dr. Lance Renner, who is our Dean of General Education. Dr. Robin Gordon, who is Dean of Technical Education. Dr. Dusty Childress, who is Executive Dean of Education Centers. So he has oversight of all of the locations outside of Springfield, in Waynesville, Lebanon, and Republic. And let's see, Dr. Robert Griffith, who is the president of the Table Rock campus. Ocki Haas, who is our Chief Human Resources Officer, and you heard from her earlier as well. Philip Arnold, who is Director of Instructional Support and who provides such exceptional Canvas support for all of us. And Danny Gutierrez, who is Assistant Vice Chancellor for Administrative Services. So with that, we did get a few questions in advance, and I'll just go ahead and start with those. And I think some of these may have been answered in some of the previous sessions, but we can go ahead and revisit them. The first question was, we've received information that attendance records will be important for contact tracing, and also that students should be encouraged to attend virtually when they experience symptoms of the novel coronavirus. Does the new attendance tool provide a way to easily record both seated and virtual attendance so that we can keep track of who was there in person versus who is counted as there because of remote participation? And I think that's something that Dr. O'Connor addressed previously, in that there is an option in Canvas for present and in person, whatever it says, present on site, and then present off site as well. So you can record attendance in that way as well. So yes, it does allow for that. Another question we got has to do with the masking requirement and how it interacts with the need to eat and drink on campus. Will faculty and staff be allowed to eat in the usual faculty lounges? And will students be allowed to eat in common areas? So I'm going to actually ask Danny Gutierrez to address this question. I think I would say that in terms of faculty lounges, I would encourage you to be careful with that. I think if you walk in and you see a group of people sitting there, if it were me, I would go back to my office. I would not eat in the lounge. But I think that that's something you're just going to have to use your better judgment. I don't think that that's anything we're necessarily going to be policing, but it is something that I think we're going to let you kind of make those determinations for yourself. Danny, do you want to address the students eating in common areas?
Yeah, I'd be more than happy to. So, of course, students are going to be able to eat in common areas, and just like we're allowing faculty to eat wherever they'd like in their break rooms. But they are allowed to take their masks off, just like if they were going to go into a restaurant. But we're just asking them, as soon as they're done, put masks back on. We're not going to be like policing them and saying, hey, you're not taking a bite after 2 minutes, you better put your mask back on. But we are going to ask in all the other common areas that they continue to wear masks. And then as well as that, to go along with that, we have our cafe and Starbucks will be open. There will be no seating inside of the cafe. So students will be able to go inside the cafe, get food, grab and go style setup, and leave and go eat in the atrium. We are also going to be social distancing all of the chairs and tables in the atriums and other common areas. So we're actually going to be putting vinyl stickers on the floor. So if students move the tables and chairs out from where we would like to have them placed, we'll ask them to put them back, and they'll see a sticker that says, please do not move tables and chairs as well. There'll be table tents all over all tables, chairs, or tables and other common areas in the hallways that you can see where they have I call them airport seating style, where they have the seats on the side with some of the tables. There'll be table tents there. So just letting students know, reiterating what posters we have up and banners we have up all over campus.
And so now we also have a question here regarding asynchronous, the present offsite marker in Canvas in the attendance module. And so I'm going to let Dr. O'Connor address that.
So yes, keep in mind, again, this is just for seated, but the present offsite is really for the instructor's benefit to be able to use it in any manner. So if you are working with a student through email, you can still mark those as present offsite. It doesn't just have to be that they are sitting into a Zoom session like we kind of talked about before. It's anything that allows you to consider them present. So besides just sitting in the classroom. Do you want me to kind of, okay. So we also have one, can students interact within the classroom for discussion? I may let Dr. McGrady kind of handle that one, but then the second part of that is talking about, and I think the next one down below that is talking about seating charts as well. We have a couple of different ways to set up seating charts. You can have them to where they are seated in the same seat each time. That typically is the best way to do it, just because then you do know, it really works for me. Like my thought process is that's how a seating chart really works is, hey, kind of find a place, and this is where you're going to be the rest of the semester. That allows you to take that attendance that way. Seating charts are not required for all seated courses. It really is there for the instructor's benefits. So addressing that next one there, it's not required. It does not have to be, those seating charts do not have to be turned in to anybody. That is really for your purposes only. And we're talking about contact tracing. Danny May or Dr. McGrady. Okay, I'll turn that back over there.
So yes, it's not required that you do the seating chart. However, it is really helpful in the event that we do have a positive case in your class to know who was within that kind of 6 foot vicinity of the student and when they were possibly infectious. And so I would encourage it. It's not a requirement. You don't have to turn it into anyone, but I would encourage you to use it just even for those purposes. Keep in mind that what the health department is telling us is that close contact is defined as within 6 feet for longer than 15 minutes. And so that's one of the reasons that I think the seating chart could be really helpful. And plus, I know everybody loves the seating chart. Everybody loves the seating chart in Pinnacle. And so, you know, you can use it just the same way that you did previously, and there is that benefit as well. Related to having students interact within the classroom for discussions, you can have them do that. I would encourage you not to, of course, put them in small groups as we sometimes do in classes, you know, where you have them set 4 to a group. You know, but yes, you can certainly have them interact for discussions. Online only, it does not seem like we are reporting attendance. How will we report administrative withdrawal if our former resource is not available? Could you verify if we are not reporting attendance and clarify a little? Sure. So you want to take this?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'll let Dr. O'Connor do this one.
So with online, we are still doing it kind of like we always have. It's all based on participation. And so, again, that's where the Gradebook is usually kind of the first go-to. But we do realize that there are other, you know, discussions that may not be in the Gradebook. There may be other activities, or maybe third-party platforms that instructors are working through. That is all based on the last date that they participate in the class. And again, participation is an academically related activity. So it's not just that they, you know, if they log into the course, that doesn't count. But with that, then the administrative withdrawal will still be submitted outside of Canvas. That administrative withdrawal doesn't happen in Canvas. So it will be happening, and I'm kind of hem-hawing around that because I'm hopeful by the time classes start, we have a new process for that as well, but it's an easier one too. It's actually it's going to be in the same place as grading within MyOTC, and I'll have those directions and everything, instructions out to everybody as quickly as they actually come up on the system. So as far as reporting the administrative withdrawal, that will happen through MyOTC.
Okay, thank you. And so then we have a question about if a student tests positive, and will all instructors for that student be notified? And now I will call on Danny. Danny has been, just so you know, he's been kind of instrumental in building the infrastructure kind of behind the scenes in terms of reporting those cases and notification of students in that class, notification of instructors. So I'll let Danny take that.
Thank you. Yes, all students and instructors will be notified when a student tests positive. So kind of give you a little bit of an idea of how it works in the background of things. So if a student tests positive, they're probably going to let you know as an instructor before they let us know as a college as a whole, or we're probably going to hear from you as the instructor or the student before we're going to hear from the health department. That's just kind of the reality of things right now, which is okay. So what that means is, if a student tests positive, whether they report it to you and you do a pairs report, once they test positive, we have a system set up to where we automatically send an email out to all the students that come in contact with that student based upon what classes they're in. So it will automatically send out an email. If they're in 5 sections, it'll go out to all 5 sections of those students and to the instructors of those classes as well. So it's something that happens automatically. It's not going to say, we're just telling the whole class. We're not going to say just the people that were in the 6-foot radius of them, just so that way everybody knows. And then from there, we just let students know, hey, keep an eye on these symptoms. Your chance is, the risk is low of contracting it through this, but we just want to let everybody know. So yes, they will know as soon as possible. Now, if it's just a case of it's not been confirmed positive yet, that is something we're going to wait till we get confirmation of positive results before we start sending out those email notifications.
Thanks, Danny. And we also have a question related to that. If a student tests positive, will everyone around them need to be quarantined? No, they will not need to be quarantined. Again, what Danny said, that basically they're just going to be notified to monitor themselves for symptoms. We do have something we're still in the works developing, but we do have now a referral system that you're going to be able to essentially, if a student tells you that they have symptoms or you notice symptoms in the classroom, you're going to be able to give them information to where they can immediately get a Cox virtual visit. And that's, again, infrastructure that Cox Health has had in place, but they've been great to work with us to give us kind of a designated OTC specific code that you're going to have on a card, and you can just hand those cards to students in your class if they are there physically present, and it explains the process to them for going and getting a screening through the Cox Health virtual visit. So the process for a student returning from class, if they've been quarantined or tested positive, again, I'll let Danny fill in those details.
Yeah, thank you. So I think it might be a good idea for me to kind of go a little bit more in depth into what the background looks like when a student lets you know as an instructor that they may have tested positive, or they're being tested, don't feel well, or need to be quarantined. So like I mentioned, if a student contacts you and says that they are not feeling well, are required to quarantine, or have tested positive or are being tested, you are to tell them, hey, you know what? Thank you for letting us know. Please stay home until you feel better. Please keep me updated on what you need as an instructor. And then on top of that, you're also going to fill out the OTC CARES report. And it has a code on the drop-down menu that you choose that says COVID-19, I believe, and then that will send a report to our Dean of Students, Joyce Bateman, and the rest of the BIT team. And what that will essentially do is we're going to have a caseworker for every student that tests positive or is under quarantine or is not feeling well in these situations, that we're going to be their main point of contact and caseworker for them to kind of help them through the process and help them navigate. So if there's financial aid issues, if they have issues with some other resources, or they just need help with things, we're going to have people that are checking in on them on a regular basis, just making sure they're okay. They're also going to be the ones that receive the doctor's notes and other information from the student to let them know that they're able to come back to class or come back to campus. So if they test positive, there's about a 10-day waiting period that they have before they can come back after their symptoms have subsided, or until that. It's 10 days after their positive test, as long as they don't have any symptoms on the 10th day. So if they're good to go, they'll get a release from Greene County Health Department. Now, every health department is going to be a little bit different. So our caseworkers will be working with those on outside campus and locations. And from there, once they get the ability to come back to campus, they'll just go seamlessly back into your classes from there. But once the student has let us know that they're not feeling well, or you've reported somebody is not having symptoms, we're going to assign them a case manager, and they will not be able to come back to campus until after they give us documentation or they meet those certain thresholds.
Great. Thank you, Danny. So, and this is a good time, I think, just to reiterate that even if you are teaching completely online, if a student tells you that they are ill, that they have tested positive, please report that through OTC CARES. So, and I realize we're going into cold and flu season. This is going to get crazy, but we have the infrastructure built on the back end. You just kind of have to trust the process. The main thing you need to remember is fill out an OTC CARES report. Same thing if a student because I think we have this happen where a student will just email you and say, I'm not feeling well, I'm not going to be in class. Well, at that point, dig a little bit with them. You don't want to get too much in their business. That's their, medical privacy. But dig a little bit just to say, are any of your symptoms COVID-19 related symptoms? Are you coughing? Do you have shortness of breath? Are you running a fever? That kind of thing. If they say yes, then it's a good idea, again, go ahead and fill out that CARES report just so that we can make contact with them. And if they are having those symptoms, then provide them resources where they can, again, and keep in mind, these are free. The screening is free and the test will be free to the student as well. So I know it seems like you're probably going to be submitting a lot of OTC CARES reports, and that's probably true. But again, we're operating out of an abundance of caution, not only for our students, but also for you all who are going to be in the classrooms with them. So again, whether it's seated or online, it really doesn't matter, because even our online students need our support, right? And they come to campus and use resources periodically. So we want to know so that we can be able to reach out and support them as well. So a question that we had gotten previously, I want to make sure and get to is, the fact that, yes, we report students who, maybe we notice them in class having symptoms, and, we give them the card for the referral to the virtual visit. But then what about students that notify us that they are missing class due to symptoms? Will they then be required to wait 14 days to come back or show a negative test result? Unfortunately, yes. I get it. I have allergies. I swear I've had a sore throat since March. I mean, that's just how it is. But again, this is an abundance of caution. And so you will need to work with those students, whether you are delivering if you are using Zoom in your classrooms and they can participate that way, or if they can participate via Canvas, remotely, submitting assignments, that sort of thing, just in that period that they do need to be away. Cox is telling us that right now their turnaround time for a test is about a day. So they are still operating, that it's about a day. So we're hopeful that for those testing negative, that they won't have to be out of class for very long, that they will get that, if they do need to be tested, that they will get that test and be right back in class. The question also goes on, I anticipate students missing class and claiming symptoms, and I'm okay with that, but I worry about then making them have to wait 14 days. Yeah, I know, me too. I'm just gonna be honest about it. I do too. But again, these are the times that we're in, and whenever I mentioned earlier about flexibility and just kind of having to adapt and do the best we can in these situations. So yes, they do need to either have a negative test that they've reported to the person who is managing their case, who is assigned to manage their case, or they need to wait that 14 days. Do they need to notify us prior to missing class for us to work with them without the risk of administratively withdrawing them? Not necessarily. I think if they miss a class and then a couple of days later they email you and say, hey, sorry, I wasn't in class, but I wasn't feeling well. I mean, that's fine. Go ahead and work with them, to try to keep them at least having that attendance or participation for the next 14 days. What if I have some students that start to get nervous as the numbers rise and decide they would like to start working virtually? Can I allow that? Yes, you can. It's your classroom. We trust you to make those determinations. If you can work with them virtually, I think that's a great idea. So I would definitely encourage that. We also had a question. Oh, I think we had one for Dr. Weaver about ProctorU, correct? I don't see it there, but
Yes, I got it.
or is it there? Okay.
So we had a question about if students don't want to use ProctorU or can't, or for your particular class that doesn't work, can they still come to campus to take tests? And the answer is yes. We will just want them to make an appointment. And our testing website has a link to all of the testing locations within OTC to give students an idea of how to set up an appointment, and then it'll have links for how to set an appointment on the Springfield campus. And that's actually the same for all of the academic services. We will do in-person tutoring. We will also do virtual tutoring. We'll have library services that are available in person. We'll have library services available virtually. So whatever students need, will be on campus. Of course, students will need to be masked the whole time they're taking a test, or if they're meeting with a tutor, but they can definitely come on campus to use those services.
Great. Let's see. Yes. Will the case manager let instructors know the student can return? Yes, they will be letting the instructors know that. The OTC CARES report is located, if you go to the OTC website, otc.edu, type in OTC CARES, and then you'll find the report on that page. I think it's divided into sections. The first section is called, I think it's student support, and that it is the first link. COVID-19 is the first link under that. So that's where you find those reports. And it's super simple to fill out. They're very easy to complete, just an online form. Let's see, will the instructor get email notifying us when a student may return? Yes, that's exactly how it will come to you, is through that case manager. For those of us who are online, can we have access to the Cox Health virtual information to pass out via email if appropriate? Yes, we can get that for you. That's a great suggestion. Where will we be able to get the cards? That's a great question too. And actually, I just asked that question. Danny has been our liaison with Cox. I believe their well, I'll let him answer.
Yeah, so we're still working with them right now and ironing out all the details and getting all of the technical side of things done, and locating classrooms and places that we can have these areas where students can go and be seen by them on each location. But that will be coming hopefully within the next week or so. Well, before classes start is our plan. Hopefully we'll hear back from Cox beginning of next week.
Get those cards, maybe I would say that we'll give them to your department chairs for sure. Deans will have them, the dean's offices will have them for you. And we'll make sure that we get them to you in some capacity. I know a lot of you have mailboxes, I believe, on our campuses, or there's a location for you, and so we will go ahead and we will make sure that you have them. If you're teaching a seated class, we'll make sure you have them, and then we'll get that information emailed out to those of you who are teaching online so that you can give your students that information as well. So that's a great suggestion.
And it will also, if you don't mind me talking just a little bit more about it, there will be, the information will be on our website as well. So students can just go right to our website and find that information on there as well. So if we don't have the actual physical cards yet printed out or something by the time the classes start, we will have the information on the website. The cards are just more or less for you to give them that information when you're in class with them and say, hey, here's how you can do the information, but we will have it on the website. So even if a student, even if they're not one of the students that you're seeing symptomatic in your class, any student can go online at any of our locations or on their phone and actually visit with Cox Health. This isn't just for while they're on campus or somebody that you say, hey, you need to go see them. Any of our students can use this at any time.
Thank you. We also have a question. What if we have cold/allergies, which mimics COVID-19 symptoms? Should we make our courses go online temporarily? The answer, I think, is probably you should really consider that. I know it's hard because some of us, we know every September we have this problem, or, we have a history of allergies. We kind of know our own bodies. The hard part is we have heard from so many people who then tested positive for COVID-19 who said, well, I thought it was just my allergies, and so I think it is a good idea, again, out of an abundance of caution, if you can do that. And again, that's why it's so important if you're teaching a seated class on that first day, have these conversations with your students. Let them know, hey, we may have to switch here quickly. So come up with a plan. Do you have the technology you need? Now, of course, we have our computer labs that are going to be available at every location, so students could still participate in that way. Maybe you're using Zoom this semester. That's great. Just talk with your students about that. Get them accustomed to operating in a remote fashion, so that we can keep the instruction going. Again, it may be a little awkward and bumpy at times, but we just want to keep the instruction and keep our students moving forward throughout the semester. I don't know, Danny, do you have anything to add to that?
No,
okay.
I think that's great.
Great, okay. Will we know the student's name and who tested positive, or just someone has tested positive in class? Is it protected by HIPAA? It absolutely is protected by HIPAA. However, we will let you know who the student is, because of course you're going to have to work with that student. So you'll need to know. It is really important, though, that you do not share that information with your students. You may have students coming into class saying, hey, I got an email that, it had to be this class because this is my only seated class, that somebody in here has tested positive. They may talk about it. You cannot give that student's name to your students. You will know who they are, but your students will not. But again, through that case management process, the case manager will be getting in touch with you, and that's their job, is to kind of act as the intermediary in some ways between you and the student who's tested positive. And they'll be kind of facilitating the communication. Of course, you can still reach out to the student yourself, obviously, to continue the instruction, but that's the purpose of that person. But yes, this is HIPAA protected information. Let's see here. let's see here. Oh, okay. Oh, and Lance also, great point. Dr. Renner said also have them contact their chair and dean if you have a student. Is that what you were saying, Lance? Oh, yes. Okay. If you want to switch your class online. Yeah, go ahead, Lance.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. If you're going to be gone for a week, or you feel like, somebody had a question about someone having allergies or whatever, and should we temporarily shift to online, I would just ask that you also notify your chair and dean. Just, we may be able to help you out, or, we certainly would want to be there in case students don't know that. Also, the sunlight's coming in from my sunroom. I look kind of angelic on here, I think. But Dr. O'Connor has often called me angelic, but I don't think that's what he was referring to.
Yeah, exactly. So yes, that's a great point. Make sure that you do notify the chair and dean if you're switching online. Also, if you're really if you're that sick that you feel like, man, I can't be there for a week, then you probably need to be tested. I would encourage you to go ahead and go through that process as well, just to make sure, that you're okay. So
and I will say that if you, as an adjunct, you are able to use this virtual Cox Health portal as well for free. So make sure that you remember that. Don't go out somewhere and pay for it. You can get it done through this portal as well. It's not just for students.
Yes, excellent point. Thank you, Danny. I appreciate you saying that. Okay, so the last question I have that was sent in advance has to do with Lebanon. So I'll probably have Dusty Childress kind of jump in here. But he says, this person says, I teach a night class in Lebanon. For students who have to stay home, will we be able to Zoom with them during the regular class time? And if we do, what will that look like? Will we have a camera already set up on a tripod recording classes just in case? Or is there a camera on the teacher's computer?
All right, great question. At the education centers, we will not be automatically recording every lecture, every session for every class. With that being said, we do have the IT equipment available that this can be done. We have tripods, we have cameras, we have cords. So I would just ask that instructor at any of the education centers to go up front to the student service suite and tell them they need the equipment, and IT will set that up for them in their classroom if they wish to try to accommodate students who are quarantined or under observation at home and can't attend class. So, no to the part of will it automatically be recorded, but yes to the portion that yes, it is an option, and we can certainly accommodate an instructor if they wish to do that.
Great, thank you. And we had another question here. Again, just clarifying, the COVID test is free. If you have insurance, I believe it asks you to put your insurance information in to the system. But if you do not, if you're not covered by health insurance, it is free for you. So one way or the other, it's paid, it's taken care of. So also, Dr. O'Connor just reminded me, make sure that you tell your students also that the official means of you communicating with them is through OTC email. A lot of times what we find with students is we say, well, we sent that to you via email, and they're looking in Canvas. And if it's not, a course related thing, then it's not going to show up, in Canvas. So make sure you're emphasizing to your students the importance of checking their OTC email, that is the official way that the college notifies you about anything. So here's a question. If we are teaching seated sections, is it our choice to go fully virtual, or is this option only available if there's overwhelming infection? That is only available if there is a need to do so. And the reason for that is, as Dr. Higdon mentioned, we did yesterday, finally, we kept watching it, expecting it to happen, and it finally did yesterday. Online is our biggest location now at this point. So students and we incentivize it so much that students who signed up for a seated section, we know want seated instruction. That's kind of the clear message. So that's why we want to be able to honor that. There could be, good reasons why they feel like they just don't learn as well in a virtual environment, whatever it might be. So we want to respect that. That being said, I know that at some of the locations, there is the option for you to have the option to offer your students and give them the option of participating through Zoom, that you would still show up to your classroom and tell students you're going to be there on Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 9 o'clock or whatever time, but that if they want to use Zoom, they can. But that's something you'd want to talk with your department chair or your dean about, your center director, to make sure that that's something that's okay to do. Keep in mind, as much as we are connected and as much as we've used Zoom, we do still have those students who just don't have great access to that technology. So we don't want to disadvantage a student who, again, signed up for a seated section, specifically wanting seated classes. Any other questions? Type fast, because I'm at the end of the questions that were submitted in advance. Here's one. Okay, let's see. Is the procedure for transitioning our classes online the same if we have been in close contact with a person who tests positive and we are required to quarantine? Yes, absolutely. And again, you will want to let the college know that you have been notified that you have to quarantine. Like for instance, it could be that the health department is telling you, hey, you need to quarantine for 14 days. Make sure you let us know that as well. That's going to be very, very important. If you do test positive let's see. Oh, this is from Ocki. Ocki, do you want to address that? There she is. Ocki, do you want to address what you had just written to everyone?
Yes, I just wanted to let the faculty members know that if they do test positive or have COVID symptoms and have to be out for 10 to 14 days, there is paid sick time available up to 2 weeks under Families First Coronavirus Response Act that federal government passed this year. So be sure to contact Human Resources for more information.
Here's a question about training that's available for instructors on the use of Zoom. So I'm going to let Dr. Coltharp answer that question.
Thank you for that question. If this is Zoom inside the classroom, if this is setting up your class to be streamed live, if this is synchronous recording of you at the front of a classroom or your students there, that is being managed by our IT department. I've spoken with them this week for the site directors out there, the center directors, that they may be reaching out to you about that, to establish a point of contact at each of our locations to assist with that. That information will be forthcoming. But as far as using it for live streaming within a classroom, contact the IT help desk or reach out to your local center manager for that information. What the center offers is more how to use Zoom for developing content, for pedagogy, for effective engagement, that sort of thing. So it's more for content development. We can assist you with basic, if you are at home, the things you've been doing with Zoom so far, we both can assist you with the basics of Zoom. But if you want to record a classroom session, or if you're streaming it live with a group of people, you want to reach out to IT on that one.
Great, thank you. Somebody is asking a question too about, are there any issues regarding handing out and or collecting paperwork in our seated classes, since COVID can live on paper for 72 hours? So this was a question that came about earlier in the summer, and we reached out to the Greene County, Springfield Greene County Health Department about this. The medical director there indicated what we have learned about this virus is that the risk of infection from surfaces is actually pretty low, that it really is more aerosols and in the air and transmitted in that way. That being said, I think it's always a great idea, as much as you can encourage online, submissions through Canvas, assignment submissions through Canvas, as much as you can minimize paper, I think that that's a really good thing to do. So while there's no specific guidance on that, I hope that does maybe put your mind a little more at ease, that they really have not seen many cases where they felt like the transmission came from surface contact. So Having said that, we're going to be cleaning like crazy. all of our locations are going to be deep cleaned every morning, every classroom, lab, everything. Our custodial staff has been great about that. But we also will have those cleaning supplies. Sorry, my mask is messing with me. Those cleaning supplies in every classroom. So if you just want to go in and kind of spray some stuff around, wipe things down, that's fine. Or if a student comes in and they just, want that extra measure of protection, wiping a surface down, wiping down the desk where they're sitting, totally fine. And that stuff will be there for them to be able to do that. I'm going to let Gavin answer. There was a question before about Canvas.
Yeah, so this one is asking if there is, so when the student drops, they basically, their gradebook goes away and all of that in Canvas, and you can't see those grades, and so it's hard to determine the LDA based on participation in the gradebook. And when we get in the semester, I'll be sending out, because you may have already noticed I send a lot of emails, but I will send an email that will have determining LDA in there. And it really is not a great process to be able to do that for online classes. But there is, when we look at the access report for students, so if you go into people, pull up the student, there's the access report for that individual student, and it will show a participation, and it will show whether or not they've completed something. The last date that's on there is typically what we utilize for the LDA. Again, it may not be the most accurate, but it usually gets us as close as we can probably get, due to the fact that that happens, that the gradebook goes away and those grades aren't there and the actual participation isn't shown. But again, it's in there in that access report. But I will send that information out as I send out an email on administrative withdrawal and that kind of thing that is part of the determining LDA. So be looking for that as well.
And getting back to our discussion of Zoom and training for Zoom, Dr. Renner just sent he said, just a quick reminder, we also had some experts that taught this manner over the summer. So we did have some instructors in Gen Ed who did live synchronous remote instruction using Zoom. And so they are great resources as well that we could certainly get you in touch with. And I know they made the video. Oh, and the PD this afternoon. They're going to be available. Or are they participating in that? Yeah, some of them are participating in that. So it'd be nice for you to get kind of a firsthand, learn what they learned in terms of what worked well, what didn't work well, things you need to keep in mind. I think that's also very useful. What resources are available for students who don't have ready access to computer, printers, internet, in case they have to go online, or where do I send them for information? We did make some changes this semester that I think are going to be really helpful. One thing that we're doing is it is now possible for students to charge a laptop to their student account through the bookstore. That was something that that really wasn't accessible early or before, but that is something that we have made a change. I believe they have a couple of different options for laptops that they can charge. And my son just started working in the bookstore, and he tells me that they're selling them like hotcakes over there. So anyway, he said that was a good decision, whoever made that decision. So so hopefully we do have students, because that was a real barrier for some students in the spring, obviously, and the fact that it was so sudden that we had to shift. Again, we do still have computer labs that will be open. And in the spring, we had students who sat outside in our parking lots, I know, and participated from their cars. Not ideal, but they were able to access our Wi-Fi in that way. If you come across a student who just really does not have the resources, then I would encourage you to get in touch with the OTC Foundation and see if there might be some options for them using the Student Emergency Fund, that we might be able to help them out in that way. So that's something that to keep in mind as well. And again, that's the OTC Foundation, the Student Emergency Fund. Anytime you come across a student who's having some kind of especially a short-term financial situation, we have students whose glasses break, or they get their textbook stolen, or something like that. The Student Emergency Fund is a really great resource for you to direct students to and get them those resources. Let's see here. What happens when the instructor tests positive for COVID and quarantines? What happens with the class instruction if the instructor is too sick to carry on class virtually or online? That becomes our problem. Oh, Lance. Oh, okay. Thank you, Dr. Renner. Please have that instructor contact their department chair and dean, and we have worked on that since March, and we will help their class in the instruction. Yeah, that's what I mean. At that point, it becomes the college's, we're the ones that are going to have to, find someone to take over that instruction. If it's for a short period of time, or maybe it's for the end of the semester. That happens even outside of COVID times, that we have had those situations, so we can handle those. It's just important for you, the instructor, to make sure, just contact and as much as possible, stay in contact then with the department chair and the dean. Let's see. The laptops in the bookstore are not Chromebooks. That is not what they are. They are actual laptops, not tablets. So can a student use any campus location to access technology? Yes, they absolutely can. We have computer labs on at every campus and location that students can have access to. Let's see here. The Pro license, somebody asked a question about the Zoom Pro license. It does carry over. If you had one last semester, it will carry over. And will substitutes through Kelly be used if needed? Possibly in some divisions. I know in the technical divisions, they use Kelly services, substitutes through Kelly services. So it is possible that we would utilize some through there as well. Any other questions? These are great questions. So many great questions. And I'm glad you're asking them so that my emails don't have to be like 14 miles long, which I always feel bad sending those out, but there's just so much to tell you. So this is really great. Well, it is almost 11 o'clock. If there are no other questions, then we're going to go ahead and we'll end this session. I'll let Dr. Coltharp close us out. Any other questions that you have, please feel free to send them. We will answer any specific questions if something comes up and you can't think of an answer or wonder about it. I would say, obviously, you've got great department chairs and program directors that support you. The deans are all fantastic to support as well. But also, like I said, email me directly if you need to, and we will certainly get those questions answered for you. We want you to have all the support you need. Great. I'll turn it over to Dr. Coltharp.
Thank you, Dr. McGrady, and a big thank you to all of our panelists. And I'd like to thank our attendees for all these great questions. This has been wonderful. Just a couple quick reminders. The day is not over. You still have some professional development opportunities coming up. We've got the dual credit folks joining us as well this afternoon. You've got your department chair meetings as well, kicking off at 11. If you have any questions about what's going on, the agenda is on our website under Kai. You should all have links to that. So once again, we want to thank you. I'm thinking, Corey, how about for next year, we do the Adjunct Educators Conference from Lance's sunroom so we can all be angelic and have some nice sunshine instead of fluorescence. I think we'll work on that.
I want it to be noted that Corey muted my video, and I feel like Corey will never teach in gen ed or business. Just FYI, we'll put that.
Whoa!
We're gonna call that even, Corey. Thanks.
Noted. All right, to be continued there. Well, thank you all. If you need anything, we are here to support you. Have a fantastic semester, and we'll see you soon.